Welcome everyone to the Powering ESG Strategies with Circularity webinar with Futures. We're just going to give it a minute for a few more people to join and then we will begin the webinar. So we'll be with you in a second. Welcome to those who joined us. This is the Resource Futures and RevolveX Group webinar on Powering ESG Strategies with Circularity. I'm Ben McCabe, I'm the Marketing Manager of Resource Futures and I'm going to be moderating the session today. So before we get started, we will be having quite a few interactive polls throughout this session. If you would like to get involved with those, you can scan this QR code with your mobile phone or on your phone or your laptop. You can go to www.menti.com and then enter the code 138908880. And then that will allow you to take part in the questions that we're going to be asking the audience throughout this webinar. So that's menti.com 138908880. Or you can use the QR code that's up here. It will also be on several of the slides throughout the presentation. So if you miss it on this point, you can refer to the code and refer to the QR code throughout the session. I'll leave that up for 15-20 seconds just to make sure everybody can access it if they want to, and then we'll introduce the session properly and introduce you to all of the wonderful speakers that we've got today. Great. So before we start, a little bit about Resource Futures. So we are a collection of experts working around waste, resources and materials, working to bring about a world where we give more than we take. And since 2006, we've been working with governments, NGOs, non-profits and businesses to help them achieve their goals around circularity. And our work spans 3 different areas. So we have our communities area, which is a lot of on-the-ground direct projects in and around, community groups and industry groups. We have our data collection and data intelligence units, which work to collect primary data and also help people make sense of the data they have. And we also have our consultancy work, which includes the circularity support that we are talking about today. So we've got some brilliant speakers lined up today. First off, we have Anne Stevenson, who is our circular economy lead here at Resource Futures. She is being joined by Max Goodliff, who is the senior consultant at Resource Futures, also working across our circular economy team. We have Paul Crossman, who is the CEO at Relove Technology. And we have Christian McBride, who's the Associate Director of Innovation and Strategy at Genuine Solutions. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We are going to start with Anne, who is going to get us kicked off.
Hi everyone, very proud today to be delivering this webinar with one of our longer term clients, Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology, and they'll introduce themselves a little later today. We've worked closely with Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology on a number of projects over the past few years, supporting its transition to becoming a leading environmental sustainability organisation. Our support working with them, that sort of began in about 2002 in terms of helping them become a B Corp. We helped them develop their first ESG impacts and ambitions strategy and a model for carbon reporting. And more lately, we've been supporting them re-envisaging their initial strategy and development of a new 5-year ESG strategy and first impact report since they got B Corp recertification. And today we're going to learn a lot more about their journey and why they think it's still important to continue powering the circular economy. But first, I do just want to touch on the differences between CSR and ESG reporting. Next. So we're going to start with a poll. And this is how confident are you that you know the difference between CSR and ESG reporting? And as you can see here, there'll be a number of options for you. So please just use the Mentimeter and let us know where you're at.
So again, if you are wanting to join into this, there's joining instructions at the top. So it's menti.com, and then you can use the vote code 13890880 if you wanted to join.
Okay, so as you can see from the poll, there's a range of responses in terms of where people are at on CSR and ESG. So what I want to just make sure that we're on the same page, Ben, next slide, is what is the difference? The terms are used interchangeably, but they are actually very different things, but they are designed to be supportive of each other. So you don't actually need to do two separate things. And that's just as Genuine Solutions and Relive Technology did. So when we're talking about CSR, corporate social responsibility, we're talking about reporting against an internal self-regulating sustainability framework. So this is your commitments and your plans and your actions for how you will actually adopt ethical and sustainable practices and how you are demonstrating that progress. That does include the measurable, but often it is a sort of more the real life stories and the achievements that are a focus. Whereas when we're talking about ESG and environmental, social and governance reporting is concerned, that's measuring such outcomes in terms of overall sustainability performance. So it's very much data driven, and a measurable sustainability assessment is primarily aimed at investors. So it's very much focused on those sort of financial risks, and it is driven by the demand for more transparency and accountability on sustainability issues. The thing is, I would argue that you can't have ESG reporting without having the CSR framework in place. So where do we actually start? Next slide, Ben. There's a range of metrics out there that are generally reported for ESG purposes, and they span sort of environment, social and governance aspects. Now, I've listed a few here to give us a better picture of where you are in your reporting journey. Again, we're going to do another poll on what kind of aspects you are currently reporting on.
So again, for anyone who's joined us a little bit late, if you wanted to get involved in this poll, you can join at menti.com on your phone or on your screen, and just use the code 13890880.
It's good news, obviously, to see that lots of people are reporting on their environmental factors. There may be some difficulties for some people on measuring and reporting on social and governance factors. Next slide, Ben. But as Jan Konietzko highlighted a few years ago, we can all end up suffering from carbon tunnel vision in measuring and reporting our impacts. And yes, we all know that measuring and reporting carbon emissions are important. But if you look at the bigger picture, taking the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, as a framework, carbon emissions are only addressed UN SDG 13 on climate action. There are a wider range of sustainability issues that need to be taken into account. Next slide. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Max, who will sort of introduce greenwashing and the relationship to having carbon tunnel vision. Max.
Great. Thanks a lot, Anne, and good afternoon all. So yeah, following on quite nicely from this idea of carbon tunnel vision, we start to see this idea of accusations of greenwashing to start. And it's important to remember when we talk about greenwashing, it's not just one thing. There's lots of different shades of greenwashing, as we'll see in a sec. Next slide, please, Ben. Perfect. Oh, apologies, Ben. Could you just go for the one before, please? Perfect, thank you. So here we can see all the different types of greenwashing, and I'll touch on a few examples we have here. So, for example, a carbon tunnel vision approach to reporting could open you out to be accused of greenlighting. So if you haven't heard of greenlighting before, it occurs when company communications, including advertisements, spotlight a particularly green feature of its operations or products, however small, that may act to draw attention away from environmentally damaging activities that might be conducted elsewhere. And that's probably where a lot of organizations get a lot of backlash. Next slide, please. And so in terms of greenwashing, I want to stress that there actually are quite a lot of reasons why companies may end up in engaging in greenwashing, and it isn't always purposefully intended. So, for example, it could occur as a result of corporate ignorance, or of course, we see a lot of companies that want to make sure they're as attractive as possible to customers, stakeholders, investors, and that can include trying to attract the best talent. As we know, like an increasing number of employees are attracted to work for companies with strong sustainability credentials. We also know that companies with strong ESG credentials tend to get a better valuation premium relative to their peers, particularly as we're seeing more investment into sustainability and ESG funds. And just another simple reason is that companies may be uncertain on what to report on how. Although with the arrival of things like CSRD and UKSRS, that may end up changing. But quite often, businesses can accidentally engage in greenwashing when they make claims about their environmental impact that are not accurate or verifiable, even when they're trying to genuinely be sustainable. And this can happen due to incomplete data, lack of transparency in operations, or misinterpreting environmental certifications. Importantly, if it's intentional or accidental, the consequences are the same. Next slide, please. So in our experience, there's three key areas where accidental greenwashing is most likely to occur, and that relates to data, transparency, and targets. So for example, a business might not fully understand or track all data on their carbon footprint, and that can lead to inaccurate or misleading claims about their emission efforts. And this is actually one of the most common greenwashing traps. I think there's around, businesses are reporting around average 30 to 40% error rates in their emission calculations. And most problems, though, come through things like missing scope 3 emissions data or companies claiming to be carbon neutral. So it's important to have robust data collection and analysis carried out before starting to make claims, or at least be open and transparent about where you are and how you're going to get better data. Next slide, please. And that leads to the next one, which is opening organizations out to being accused of green labeling. So we're seeing a lot of growing scrutiny by organizations such as the Competition and Markets Authority or financial institutions, where environmental claims lack transparency. And this lack of transparency can be caused by a number of things. So, for example, using vague terms like eco-friendly or sustainable without the specific details or evidence to actually support the claim, or focusing on positive environmental aspects while ignoring or minimizing any negative impacts, or just simply using colors and imagery to imply higher sustainability credentials. And so the best way to avoid accidental greenwashing and any hefty fines would be to start checking all claims before using them. And you can do that against the 6 key principles of the Green Claims Code. And they are that claims must be truthful and accurate, they have to be clear and unambiguous, they can't omit or hide any important relevant information. Any comparisons you make have to be fair and meaningful. Claims must be substantiated, and they must consider the full life cycle of the product or service. And there's also the Advertising Standards Agency, who also have some really good detailed guidance on this. And you can find some specific guidance on biodegradable, compostability claims, wind farms, and electricity from renewable sources, claims about recycling, etc. So it's important to be transparent, sharing all aspects of environmental impacts, including both the positive and the negative. And where possible, it's important to also seek independent verification of claims against the standard. Next slide, please. And finally, where organizations can be called out as being involved in green rinsing. So if you haven't heard of green rinsing before, this is where a company regularly changes its sustainability targets before they are achieved. And so you do that often to avoid scrutiny or criticism for not meeting initial goals. And quite often this is due to just being overambitious at the beginning and making claims about future sustainability goals without a clear strategy or roadmap for achieving them. And so there's a few ways you can become more confident with the targets you set yourself. So for example, you can establish a plan of action that starts with a baseline built upon a sound materiality assessment and quality data collection and analysis. You can benchmark your performance and aspirations in your industry to just understand the expectations on your organization and best practice. You can engage both internal and external stakeholders to establish a clear vision and build a business case. And finally, you can define your targets and your performance metrics and your practical outcomes, as well as developing a roadmap of action incorporating your measures of success. And this is exactly what Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology has done in developing their latest ESG strategy, demonstrating how building a business with circularity principles at its heart can have significant positive impact beyond carbon. And so before we hand over to Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology, let's just be clear about what we mean by circularity principles. So I'm going to pass this back on to Anne.
Okay, thanks, Max. Next slide, Ben. So many of you may have already seen this, but we can't really talk about the circular economy without mentioning the linear economy. And I just want to highlight here that since the Industrial Revolution, the way we live today has been built on a model of constant and increasing extraction of natural materials, which we then turn into other stuff and then define as waste when we don't want the stuff anymore for whatever reason. And why do we carry on doing it? Economic growth, creating jobs and improving quality of life in an age of abundant raw materials. And the thing is, if only we knew about climate change 100 years ago, maybe we'd have started with a circular economy. But what I will highlight, though, that the ideas behind a circular economy have actually existed since the 1840s, since we really got the linear economy embedded into our way of living. But it wasn't until about 1982 when what we know as the circular economy today started to really take off. Next slide. And it is argued that the ideas behind them have existed since the 1840s. There does remain nuanced views on what the circular economy means and its impacts, and there's lots of arguments in academia, but we're not here to do that. But although that might be really, really interesting for people studying this at an academic level, we have appeared to move to an agreement on at least the principles of a circular economy, and that's what I'm highlighting here, is that it's regenerative by design. It's not just an accident. We purposefully design the way that we produce and use stuff to eliminate waste and pollution. And there are many products out there treated as disposable and end up as waste, such as packaging. But what this principle is really about is asking at the beginning for us as businesses to ask what happens to this material or product at the end of its first use, and designing it better so that they re-enter the economy at the end of their first use. So by designing better materials, products, and adopting circular business models. And what we mean by that is we keep those products and materials in use at their highest utility values. So this is about if a product is designed as a vacuum cleaner to begin with, it stays a vacuum cleaner for a long, long time. It isn't just recycled into its component parts. And all of that fundamentally helps to limit exploitation of the natural world, but it also supports the regeneration of that natural world. And in effect, this is just what Genuine Solutions and Real Love Technologies has done. But before we talk to those guys, let's be clear about what we mean by circular business models. Ben? So these definitions here are taken from the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, and that means looking at circular supply models. This is replacing those virgin sources with bio-based, renewable or recovered materials. It's looking at product service system models. So it's providing customers with services that enable more efficient use of a product, and then we move on to product life extension models. This is probably where you see a lot of activity at the moment. So this is using sort of ingredients or designing products so they extend the use period of existing products. So thereby you're sort of slowing the flow of materials through the economy through reuse, repair, and designing for remanufacturing. There are sharing models out there. So this is sharing of products for customers or ingredients and equipment in the industry. So that sort of reduces that demand for new products and materials. And then resource recovery. Now, this is probably where much of the circular economy activities focus, but it is an option of last resort if we're looking at the principles of the circular economy. And this is ensuring that any leftover products or materials can be recovered and used by you or somebody else throughout the value chain at the end of its first use. So I now want to just hand you on to Genuine Solutions and Real Love Technology to tell you about their journey.
Hi everybody, my name is Paul Crossman and I'm the CEO of Revolvex Group, which is home to our two brands, Genuine Solutions Distribution and Real Love Technology. Thank you very much for the invite today, guys. We're really proud to share our journey so far. So who are we? So we've been established for nearly 20 years. We have a fantastic team, which is highly experienced in the mobile communications industry. And we have a minimum of 800 loyal customers across multiple channels, across multiple territories. We began our journey as a circular economy pioneer many years ago, which I'll explain in a moment. We've won multiple awards for the services that we have developed, and I like to think we have unrivaled commitment to compliance and quality, not just in terms of the services that we provide, but also the products that we bring back into the marketplace. We are a highly certified and accredited company. We have ISOs 9001, 14001, and 27001, covering quality management, environmental, and data protection standards. We've been a B Corp accredited company since 2021, and we're one of the first in the industry to be so. And we're also Investors in People Platinum accredited. Again, an industry first within our industry. Next slide, please. So on our tweet, we're very proud to be celebrating 20 years of success this year. And within those 20 years, we've covered many, many milestones. So from the start of our journey from sorry to go and embarrass you now, Chris, but from Chris's front room back in 2005, where the business first started, to where we are today. And during that time, we've employed many fantastic people that are still with us today. We've created many fantastic partnerships within the industry and with charities, and we've pioneered many services, including our circular recovery solution, which we'll come on to later. We've also won many awards, including recognition from the Queen's Enterprise Award and Export Champions Award as well. Next slide. So as a business at RevolveX, our vision and purpose is very simple. Now, we want to be a business where every action it takes leaves a positive, lasting impact. We want to shape a future of purpose, innovation, and sustainability for generations to come. Our purpose is to lead with intention, is to cultivate a network of forward-thinking brands such as Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology that prioritise people, planets, and progress. And together, we want to strive to create an indelible legacy of goodness that resonates far beyond today. Next slide. As I said before, we are accredited, and it's not just about collecting accreditations or ticking boxes. This is to make sure that we do operate a compliant business and that we're recognised for it. It makes sure that we're always constantly raising our game in terms of how we perform as a business, how we manage our business, how we manage our people, and how we manage our customers. It's a great testament to the team that we have here to make sure that we keep compliant and we keep on adding to our accreditations. Next slide. So I said at the beginning, we're home to two fantastic brands, Genuine Solutions Distribution and Relove Technology. Let's just take a little deep dive into those two brands. So Genuine Solutions Distribution is a distributor of choice. We've been established for just over 20 years. And basically, what sets us apart with our competition is quality, compliance, our superb account management, and also our product quality. We are very, very hot on product compliance and how we introduce products into the marketplace. We specialise in not only original accessories and smart technology, but also recovered technology that we work in parallel with Relove Technology, and but also select partner brands as well. Next slide. We supply our customers across many international territories. We have over 24 countries with over 800 business-to-business customers. Next slide. So bringing on to Relove Technology. Next slide. So our Relove Technology is a circular economy business model. We recover, recycle and reuse technology from our partners' channels. So we work closely with the industry, so network operators, insurance companies, major retailers and enterprise businesses. We also provide services to the third sector as well, which I'll come on to in a moment. But what we offer is brand protection, compliance for our customers, and also value back for the product that we do recover. Our model is very simple. So as a value solution provider, we provide recovery channels within the industry, enterprise and third sector and consumer partnerships. All of our processes are certified and auditable. So we know exactly where we recover product from and where we place it back into the marketplace. We make sure that we recover as much as possible, and our goal is 100% reuse. We believe reuse is the best form of recycling, and our mission for many years now has been zero to landfill. We always find a use for products, even if it cannot be recovered in its original form. We will work with specialist partners to reuse the material so it can be made into different products. When we place product back into the marketplace, we provide a chain of custody for every product that we provide. So, and it's securely data wiped as well. So we're making sure that we provide confidence in terms of the product we're placing back into the marketplace, but also from where we sourced it from as well. So there's confidence all the way through our supply chain. As I mentioned previously, we also work very closely with the third sector. So we provide take-back schemes for a number of different charities where their supporters can provide and donate equipment where we value and recover that product. We normally provide those products, those services free of charge, so that ensuring that all value goes back into the charity, so they benefit from the services that we provide. But as you can see, it is a circular model in terms of what we do. Next slide, please. So just to provide another diagram in terms of how we power the circular economy, you can see from the left-hand side, we source product from a number of different sectors, and we source as close as possible to the original product. So we are in control of that chain of custody. Once it comes into our business, we go through a process which is being certified under our ISO standards, and we provide a number of different services. So from cataloging, grading, testing, we data wipe any data bearing product. We recycle and repair and refurbish using specialist partners. And if a product cannot be data wiped, we harvest those parts so it can be used for products where they can be repaired. If a product cannot be data wiped, it is ethically recycled, and we have partnerships with the Royal Mint and with other companies where that product can be made into different products. We also provide compliant reporting and evidence notes for our customers as well. Once a product has been processed, it's then placed back into the secondary market. Again, many different channels, and we can provide that chain of custody from start to finish, giving our customers the confidence of where that product has been sourced from. And once it's been used, it can be recycled and come back into our business again. Next slide. So our ESG strategy, as Anne mentioned earlier, we started this journey many years ago with Resources Future, and they've been a fantastic partner for us in helping us establish our strategy and our impact reports, and gain our B Corp certification. So we're guided by the SDGs, and these are the main goals that we're focusing on. And I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey in terms of how we're working our ESG strategy. Next slide, please. So we're basically, our strategy is broken down into 3 fronts. So the first one is protecting and enhancing the environment. So it's making sure that our actions reduce wasteful practices, address climate change, and create positive environmental change. The second one is developing people and communities. So it's how we work within our communities and how we contribute and making sure that we're leaving a positive impact within our communities. And last but not least, is making sure that we are and maintain and remain a responsible business, and how we grow sustainably without leaving a negative impact, and making sure that we are leaving a positive impact that we can be proud of. Next slide. So working with Resources Future, they helped us develop a very useful graph in terms of how to measure and how we operate our ESG strategy. So on the left-hand side is the impact of genuine solutions, so from low to high, and then on the bottom axis, our direct impact and contributions to environment and society. And that's how we've mapped out our key milestones in terms of how we want to implement our ESG strategy. Next slide. So taking our core pillars and commitments, as I mentioned before, we have 3 main fronts. So as you can see, under protecting and enhancing the environment, we have Save Planet Earth, and we have a number of actions in terms of how we're going to achieve that underneath. And Power a Circular Economy, again, actions beneath that. Developing people and communities, so 2 things. 1, looking inside the business, being a great place to work, and looking outside in how we maximise social value. And then being a responsible business is lived by our governance and business ethics in terms of how we operate. And then looking outside is how we drive sustainable value chains. Next slide. So when we look at protecting and enhancing the environment, this is focusing on using the SDGs, responsible consumption and production and climate action as our guiding principles. We measure not only our CO2, but how many products that we've been able to successfully process and recycle, how much waste we've prevented from end up in landfill. So to date, it's over 9,000 tonnes. And how much waste is generated by Genuine Solutions and our operations on Real Life Technology is diverted from landfill. And so I'm proud to say that it's 100%. Next slide. So in terms of developing people and communities, our guiding SDGs are good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and sustainable cities and communities. So we as a business are very we have a fantastic team here, and basically we do take up in terms of measuring the diversity of our workforce. So currently, of our employees in our workforce, 39% are female. Of employee survey said, 97% of our employees said we're a great place to work for, which is underpinned by Investors in People accreditation. And so far since 2020, and that figure is definitely higher now, is 120k donated or fundraised and much funded to the charities that we have supported. And we've also delivered in excess of 1,500 hours now in terms of training to our employees. And as at the end of last year, we've employed just over 38 people within our business. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, sorry, apologies. So being a responsible business, our guiding SDGs are gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and sustainable cities and communities. So we run a number of surveys with our customers and clients, and last year 93% of our customers surveyed were very satisfied with the services received from our businesses. We were officially verified by B Lab and named as a B Corp certified corporation in 2021 and 2022, taking Genuine Solutions and Real Life Technology in turn. And we service over 800 countries through our products and services. And we're also certified ISO 9001, 14001, 27001. We're also registered with the environmental agency with the appropriate accreditations and licenses to manage e-waste and as an AATF. So when we started our journey with Resources Future back in 2022, our initial score for our assessment was 89.3. Now we're currently going through reassessment. I'm really pleased to say that our initial score is 118.2. So we're just waiting for that to be verified, but it's a massive improvement in terms of where we started this journey and how we've improved our business and our positive impact since the start of our journey. Next slide. So we've been through a number of milestones since we started this journey. So and each step has been verified by Resources Future. So I'm not going to go through each key milestone, but we do document each milestone that we've achieved so far. And one of the key ones last year was when we moved premises to our new home here in Surrey. And one of the key commitments that we made was to reduce our energy consumption. And so we installed solar power in our building, and we're enjoying a very warm and sunny year so far this year. But last year, the solar energy contributed to just over 40% of our energy consumption just in 1 month. So that's going to go over the next few months as we enjoy the summer months. Next slide. So over the next 5 years, we've carefully plotted out our key milestones in terms of what we want to achieve for our ESG strategy. We're very mindful of greenwashing, as was pointed out earlier on, which is a very good insight into greenwashing. And that's why we work very closely with Resources Future to make sure that we do stay on track in terms of what we do achieve, how we achieve it, and how we report it. Next slide. Hand you back over to Anne and Ben.
Okay, folks. So we're going to open the floor to Q&A in a minute or two, but we just want to do one final poll. So obviously you've heard what we've had to say today. So we just wanted to get a feel from you guys on what your ESG priorities are moving forward.
And yeah, one last time for any people who've joined us partway through this session today, at the top there are joining instructions. So you can go onto menti.com on your phone or on your laptop and just use the code 1389080, and then you can vote in this poll. We will also be doing the Q&A in just a second. So if you do have any questions that you'd like to raise with our panel, please pop them into the Q&A chat box on the screen. Great, thank you for that. That's, yeah, interesting spread of answers there, and quite a lot of people looking at all of those different areas at the moment. Right, so I'm going to bring everybody back on screen. So yeah, we're going to do a Q&A session for the next 15 minutes or so. And we've got a couple of questions that have already been sent through. Thank you very much for the people who've done that. If you have any others, as I said before, there's a Q&A section that you can just pop a question in, and we'll make sure that we ask that before we finish. We had a couple of questions about slides. We will be sharing these slides along with the video to watch back tomorrow after the session is completed. So starting off with one for Chris and Paul, is a question saying, an impressive story and impact numbers. What circular business models have you found to have had the biggest impact for both your companies, and also which have been the least disruptive to implement?
That's a really, really good question. So I think, you know, I'm going to be honest here, we discovered circular principles by accident many years ago when we first discovered that used accessories and were not going to be reused again. They were going to go, and we basically rescued them and discovered that our marketplace, our customers really loved this product. So in terms of a minimum disruptor, I think because we were a value add provider in terms of how we integrated with our businesses, with our customers, it was least disruptive. It brought the best value for our customers, and we're able to recirculate those products without a waste being generated.
I mean, I'd like to add to that also, actually, that I think one of the good examples of what we do is, from a circular perspective, is that we undertake, as Paul was alluding to earlier, we work with a number of charities to recover devices which are unused devices as well, unused devices, and we repurpose those devices, whether that's through repair or repositioning, and then we essentially place them back into the marketplace to extend the useful life of them as well. And we found that to be a really useful process to power that circular model.
Brilliant. A question for our Resource Future speakers here, so Anne and Max. What is the process for developing an ESG strategy? How long does it take? And what is the average investment to do so? So who would like to take that one?
Chris, was that a question to myself, was it?
Chris, you're muted at the moment. Sorry, we've got some technical issues at the moment. We don't seem to be able to hear Chris. Give us a moment.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think what
Yeah, apologies. We seem to be losing Paul and Chris at the moment. I'm not sure what's going on here. Give us a moment. And do you want to answer the question in the meantime while we try and get Paul and Chris back on?
Yeah, in terms of process, Max kind of highlighted it on an earlier slide, which is about knowing where you're starting from for the first point. There's no point trying to sort of keep up with the Joneses, as they might say, was because everybody else is saying they're going to reduce carbon emissions by 90% by 2030. There's no point you doing that if you don't even know where you're starting from. So we would always say, first of all, know where you're at. You know, where, and then the second bit is, well, what is everybody else doing? So know where you're at first before you start looking at what everybody else is doing, because everybody else's business model is a bit different to your own. So it's worth looking at where you're at, then look at, well, what's everybody in my industry? Who are my peers? But also, what are the expectations on my industry itself? So there may be investment companies or stakeholder groups out there who have high expectations of certain sectors to be doing something. So you need to be looking at what they're expecting you to do as well. So that's the benchmarking aspect of it. But then it's also what some businesses tend to do is only look inwards. So when they're trying to decide where they need to be focusing, they're very much looking at, well, where do we want to focus? And I think that's where Genuine Solutions, they were very good at taking on board the aspects of, it's not just what you think's important, it's what everybody else thinks is also important. So it's doing that internal and external stakeholder engagement. It's not just the management team, it's everybody who works with you even when you're looking at internally, because they might have the best ideas because they're at the forefront of what we do. So again, it's that stakeholder engagement aspects. So there are sort of clearly defined steps, but what I will say, it's not just one process. It will be different for different organisations. It'll be a bit iterative, backwards and forwards, a rethink on this. And it also means it just because something isn't necessarily a priority for today, you haven't forgot about it. You're open and transparent and telling people, look, we know this is something for us to do. The technology's not there, or we're not ready, or we can't see a path yet. We need to do a bit more work, and just tell the world that that's what you're doing. And it creates that sense of trust and openness and honesty. So that's where the roadmap is essential. You have to have a plan of where you're going to. And people will forgive those little bits where you said, look, we haven't got the data now, but I promise we're going to get that data by that date. And it just reassures people.
Great, thank you, Anne. I've just reset Chris and Paul, so hopefully we'll be able to catch them now. A question from Helen Hapgood. What has been the most effective way to audit or understand where your suppliers and their supply chains are in relation to achieving net zero? So about auditing or understanding suppliers. Who would like to give that one a go?
Hi, yeah, I mean, it's really, really important to know your suppliers. So so we currently run scorecards where we have a detailed checklist in terms of understanding the supplier, the background, their supply chains, and like many companies do, and basically it's not just about just going through a paperwork exercise, it's actually visiting them and understanding who they are as well. So I think it's really understanding your supplier in terms of how they operate, what their principles are. Do they follow the same? Do they have the same quality systems as ourselves? What are their accreditations?
Sorry, Paul, we've just lost you a second. I'm going to pop you off and put you back on and see if we can get that working. Do you want to try again? We'll do one final question, which is for Anne and Max. How can small and medium enterprises transition to circular economy models without compromising financial sustainability?
Okay. I will signpost you to something else we've developed, and this was for Zero Waste Scotland. So this is a circular economy value proposition toolkit. You'll find it available to download on their website. And so what this is all about is understand, you might have a great idea, and a lot of businesses think, yes, this is what we want, but you really need to understand, well, what does the customer want from it? What are they going to get out of it, to be able to design your model to fit the needs or desires of your customer base. So I definitely look to it's worth looking at the toolkit there. Like I say, it's free to use to give you an idea of understanding where they're at, because you in terms of embedding circular economy business models, it doesn't make sense unless it does create financial sustainability. You're a business. You want to be here now and in the future. So it's finding the right circular economy business model for your customer base. It might mean you rethinking your customer base, but it also may mean you rethinking your business model as well. But from Genuine Solutions and Relove technology perspective, obviously they have a different, because theirs is built upon creating a financially sustainable business from embedding circularity as a primary driver for their model.
Brilliant, thank you, Anne. We'll call the Q&A there just so we don't get any more technical gremlins. So apologies for the couple of questions that we're not quite able to get to. Thank you to everybody who's attended today. Thank you particularly to Paul and Chris, who've joined us from Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology. And thank you to Anne and Max, who have joined us from Resource Futures today. If you want to find out a little bit more about us and a little bit more about the work that Genuine Solutions and Relove Technology have been doing, you can find the case study on resourcefutures.co.uk, or you can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you at our next webinar. Have a good day.